What gave you the confidence to do that, first of all, and could you have gone even higher?
There's a lot of demand for our security solutions. We have the market-leading products for web app firewall and bot management, and we're really seeing strong demand for our market-leading solutions to stop ransomware and data exfiltration. That's in the micro-segmentation area. And so that's led to increased confidence for how the security product group will do this year. We're also really thrilled to see we're back in double-digit earnings growth now, which was a very nice place to be.
A number of analysts noting that you've kind of outperformed for a few quarters now, but particularly the security story is gaining momentum. What is the motivation for customers to spend, to commit their investment on the security side?
Yeah, good question. Across the landscape, there's challenging economic conditions, and so spend is not easy to come by for most enterprises, but they need to have security. They can't afford to have a major ransomware incident or data exfiltration problem, and Akamai has the leading solutions to protect them. So that's, I think, driving a lot of the business. Also, I think going forward, as you see the advances with Gen AI, that is going to give an asymmetric advantage to the attacker. We've seen now with the tools that have been developed, Fraud GPT, Worm GPT, Dark Bart, all that stuff makes it a lot easier to make very malicious bots and to morph the malware. It's going to be easier to get around the traditional security defenses. And so that's why being able to have that second line of defense inside an enterprise is so much more important now, to know when you've been penetrated and to isolate it and to stop it from spreading before you get real damage.
You raise a point that many in your industry have, going all the way back to the RSA conference earlier in the year. Generative AI and quantum computing are just as much of a tool for the threat actors as they are as part of your defense strategy. And I wondered if you could just give us a little bit of insight into how seriously your customers take that. Do they acknowledge that there is a technological competence of the threats they face?
I think quantum computing isn't an issue yet. But Gen AI is becoming one. And I think, the realization is beginning to set in. With any big technical advance, and Gen AI qualifies, you get a lot of good and some bad. And in this case, it's an asymmetric advantage to the attacker when it comes to trying to get past an enterprise's defenses. And so I think probably we're on the cusp of seeing a lot more attacks and a lot more effective attacks. And so, yeah, enterprises are concerned.
Talk to me a little bit about what's going on inside your company. You've cut costs. The street's really happy with your performance. But what other changes are you making internally, and what other investments might you make?
Yeah, I think the next frontier in security is API security. We're making a lot of investments there. I think we're in a really good position to be able to help enterprises, and they are asking for help. Pretty much all the major enterprises know they've got a problem now with all the reliance on APIs and not having them adequately secured. Also, we're making large investments in our infrastructure as a service business, cloud computing. With the idea that we're going to be able to spin up an enterprise's containers and VMs in literally hundreds of places, which they can't do today. And that will let them get much closer to the end user and have better performance. And by using our other capabilities that came from our delivery business, we think we can do that at lower cost than they're spending today with the hyperscalers. In many cases, the hyperscalers are their competitor, and Akamai will, be their partner.